Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Call the meeting to order. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GL Chapter 38, Section 18, and Governor Healy's March 29, 2023 revised order extending remote participation by all members, any meeting of a public body. This meeting of the Select Board will be conducted both in person and via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and our parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website. Committee members and members of the public may attend this meeting in person or remotely. Instructions for remote access are found at the top of the agenda. Every effort will be made to ensure that those attending remotely can access the proceedings in real time via technological means. Pursuant to MGL 7C 38, Section 20F, after notifying the chair of a public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body or may transmit the meeting through any medium. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recordings. This meeting is being recorded by the Berkshire Edge, Berkshire Eagle, Town of Great Barrington, and CTSB. Any member of the public wishing to speak at the meeting must receive permission of the chair. The listing of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. So Select Board's announcements and statements. I'm going to read a statement concerning Housatonic Water to try to clarify some confusion that's been both online and people have spoken to me about, and other Select Board members, I'm sure. There's been some confusion concerning Housatonic Water Works and the roles of town government. The Great Barrington Select Board is responsible for representing the Housatonic Water Works users in the DPU rate case and in attempting to figure out a solution to this long-term problem. The Great Barrington Board of Health is responsible for the safety of the Housatonic Water Works users. When citizens were concerned about the discoloration and safety of their water, I suggested that they report their concerns directly to the Board of Health. The Great Barrington Select Board is extremely concerned, but the regulatory authority in control of this is the Board of Health. The Board of Health is forwarding all complaints and concerns onto the DEP. There have also been reports that the Select Board denied a request for $3,000 from the Board of Health to fund independent water testing. This is not true. The Board of Health does have the authority to order independent water testing. They also have the authority to have Housatonic Water Works pay for those tests. There was a request by the Board of Health during budget discussions for $50,000 for legal fees concerning the Housatonic Water Works problems. All legal fees for the town goes through the town manager's office. The Board of Health was asked to clarify what these fees would be used for and how they arrived at that number. Ultimately, they chose not to resubmit their request. Tonight, the town manager will explain where we are in the process with a report on the infrastructure and finances of the Housatonic Water Works. There is some concern that the number of executive sessions the Select Board have conducted. The ratepayers do deserve as much information as possible. But when discussing a solution, it's important that we do not disclose sensitive information to the owners of Housatonic Water Works. I urge the citizens of Housatonic to contact the representatives on either the Board of Health or the Select Board when they have a question or concern. Getting information from other sources can lead to confusion and misleading answers. The Great Barrington Select Board and the Great Barrington Board of Health will continue to advocate for and represent the ratepayers of Housatonic Water Works.
I have a question, Mr. Bannon.
Yeah.
Is the Board of Health forwarding it to the DEP or the Department of Public Utilities?
DEP. Ben, go right ahead.
Yeah, just to follow up on what Steve was saying. I would first say just that the question of whether or not this board is incredibly aware of what Housatonic residents are going through. You don't have to look further than myself or Eric as residents of Housatonic and customers of Housatonic Water Works. But I also know that awareness is great and action is better. I'm as frustrated as anyone that the majority of the work that we've done in the last year has been an executive session. I'm hoping that our update tonight can give you an idea of where we're heading. But I also wanted to kind of just voice some of my frustration with the system that we've been kind of forced to operate in. One of the most frustrating things about this process is that in the eyes of the EPA and the TPU, the sludge that we get in our water is essentially okay. It's considered a cosmetic or aesthetic problem, and it's regulated under the secondary maximum containment levels, or SMCLs, which are non-enforceable guidelines because in theory, they don't pose a hazard to consumer health, and that takes a bit of the workload off of the staff at these agencies, so they can focus on what they consider more pressing issues. But I would say that in a case like this, where we are facing water that is so regularly discolored and just unusable at such a regular rate, that this is a pressing issue. The DEP has long threatened, I believe, to impose fines or legislation against the Houstonic Waterworks. I think we're beyond time that those are actually kind of brought through and that they follow through on their promises. So the other thing that I find incredibly frustrating about everything that we've been going through with the TPU rate case is that, especially this last week, or when Bill Nappo sent letters and a picture with water from this most recent instance of discolored water, that they basically said public comments is closed. And I understand that, right? Like, this is the process that they work in, but the frustration on all of this is that essentially we're not given the tools to actually advocate for our residents in this way that the system is structured. So I just want to reassure everyone this time that this board is doing everything that they can, but a lot of this does lie outside of the bounds of this town. I know me personally, I'm planning on writing letters to Governor Healy, the commissioner of the DEP, as well as our state reps and federal reps, to try to strengthen the regulations that actually oversee Houstonic water and other water systems like this. Because until we can actually have enforceable regulations that says discoloration at this level is unacceptable, we don't have much action. So we have to make ourselves loud. We have to make ourselves bigger than we actually are. Otherwise, we're not going to get the regulatory backup that we need to get things done.
Thanks, Ben. Garfield?
Yes, I just wanted to let the people know, from Brush Hill and the Brookside area that the transit, the Tri-Town Transit or connector has been up and running, runs all year. What we're proposing, we'd like to do is have, you can also reach them on the website, and I'll give you the phone number. What we'd like to propose is that you can call them. You can park down on the east side of the bridge. There is no permission needed. You can park there. You can walk over the bridge and have the Tri-Town people that you call pick you up there on the west side of the bridge. There's all this information. You can look it up on the tritown.org. Just so you know, that's ride free. At after 9, it's 9 to 11, it's free. Sunday, it's only $1. If you are going through more than one town, it's $4, $2 within one town. If you're going in Great Barrington, you have to go to Southwick, it will cost you $4. But there are plenty of drivers. My little suggestion only, maybe just to keep people from going nuts, maybe if the drivers, that is, if you have a 1 o'clock appointment, let's say, and someone has a 1:30, maybe we can double up and drive in at the same time. Bring a book with you or something, and you can read it. Just a suggestion, you don't have to do it, just so we can keep things running smoothly and maybe not tire out everyone. But that is available to you all year round. The hours will change in the winter, but again, you can go on the tritown.org.
Excuse me,
Yes.
what are we talking about?
We're
So
talking
you
about-
just came in. Could you let him finish, please?
That's why I said.
Meeting
excuse-
started at 6.
No, that's why I said, excuse me.
Yeah, he's going to continue.
So what were we talking about?
Talking about the Brush Hill Bridge and some Tri-Town connector.
Thank you.
Right. So anyway, again, you can book it through the website. Also Mondays and Wednesdays for seniors, which starts at 8:60. There are rides up to Pittsfield if you have medical issues. That's $20 trip, round trip, runs 8 a.m.
Excuse
to
me.
4 p.m.
What's the rise of Pittsfield for?
If you
So
have
this is-
medical issues and you're
Who am I-
60 years
who am
old,
I talking
Okay,
to?
I'm talking to me.
You know, you're talking to me, because everything's
Okay.
got it here. But he's gonna finish what he has to say. During citizen speak, you can ask questions. This isn't.
So I have to listen to him speak?
Yes,
And the questions I have as he speaks,
no,
I'm not allowed to ask
No.
questions towards his statements?
no,
No?
no, this is not a debate.
So I didn't ask for.
No, it's not a question. Go ahead.
Anyway, again, it's for seniors, if you're 60 years old, $20 round trip, 8 AM to 4 PM it runs. Sundays again free, again, Tri-Town.
Excuse me, is that towards Pittsfield? Or any other direction?
Go ahead, Carl. I'm not gonna.
I didn't finish my statement, yeah. It drives only it's only for people that have medical issues on Monday and Wednesday. That will take you up to Pittsfield for $20 round trip.
So if
8
a
AM to
medical
4 PM.
issue, you'll drive us to Pittsfield.
The Tri-Town connector will,
Between
provide
what
8 AM and 4 PM,
Of what days?
Monday and Wednesday.
Monday and Wednesday, so if I have a
Okay,
medical issue.
he needs to finish, and you need to just let him finish.
Well, I think he needs to talk while asking.
I'm finished.
He hasn't finished.
For all of us, can you just please
Yeah.
let him finish?
Sure.
This is serious business.
Sure, I'm just
Yeah.
I'm
Just
trying to
be
catch
patient.
up.
We all wanna talk too, so we gotta wait, you gotta wait too.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Go right ahead. Carl.
All right, I'm pretty much basically done. We just let you know that's available for you year round. Things will change. Oh, just so you're aware, again, and then there's a new expanded hours, night hour we're calling. It started June 20th. It will go through August 31st. It's gonna run until 11 PM on Sunday to Tuesday, until 11:30 PM Wednesday through Sunday.
Thank you, Garfield. Eric?
Yeah, just wanted to touch base and thank, both you, Steve and Ben for your comments, regarding Housatonic Waterworks, again. Very frustrating myself,
He was talking about
also
Housatonic
dealing
Waterworks.
with this
That was,
situation.
please, don't
Yes.
interrupt again.
Thank you. Wait, I'm just.
So.
Please don't interrupt.
Not only, dealing with the discoloration constantly at my own place, but, knowing as I walk out my door that most of my neighbors are all dealing with the same issue. Having, just constant, people having to, one of my neighbors has to drive out to Lee or to Sheffield just to get the smaller bottles because she can't pick up the big bottles, and the levels, from just something that seems as simple as that or as hard as that, you have to make those extra miles and then you have to cut a check for a single person on a fixed issue. They also has to pay a water bill after that, so it makes me shake when I think about this stuff. It makes me shake that, how long it's gone on and how people are more concerned over their bottom lines and the levels of greed than the community good and their hometown and issues like that, that it makes me shake when I speak about it. But unfortunately, that's the system we're in, and the frustration level, like Ben had said, going through the whole rate case was the most frustrating thing I've had to deal with sitting on this board. Just from all the topics that Ben had brought up, so. Slow moving, like most things are in government, but it's something that I'm definitely here, and I know my colleagues here are fighting for, and no one takes discolored water, bad water, horrible service, cancer water lightly on this table right here. So I can say that firmly. I know it's frustrating. I'm frustrated too. Everybody here is, so.
Thanks.
Can I, since you
No,
stopped,
no,
can I ask
No, this
what
is,
the
no,
bad water?
no,
is?
the question, I said no. This is the time for select board to speak. There will be time for citizens to speak. This is not the time.
This is not, so you just get to talk
Yes,
without questioning
Yes.
when you talk?
yes,
That doesn't seem fair, does it?
that's the rules.
Who
Believe it.
made those rules?
It's the town of Great Barrington. Lee, go right ahead.
So,
Don't you live in Monterey?
No, Berkshire County.
That doesn't, if you don't live in Great Barrington, you have got to speak at all, so.
Oh, if I don't live in Great Barrington.
Yeah, this is for Great Barrington
Oh,
residents.
That's interesting.
Yeah, go right ahead.
so, you know, I thank my colleagues on the board. You know, everyone is feeling the same frustration, and I'm certainly doing it as well. And, you know, everyone should know that we're working on a parallel track, so we're trying to solve this rate case. I mean, that's one of the most frustrating parts of this, is that the DPU thinks it's okay to increase water rates for a product that's inferior and toxic. So we are addressing that. At the same time, we are looking at the long-term plans, you know, whether it looks like an acquisition or a merge or, but there's two parallel tracks going on right now. So we hear you and we're frustrated and we're doing the best we can. So I want you to know that, you know, there's the long-term work looking at what we're gonna do with this water company, and we are trying to work on the rate case. So we hear you. One other thing I wanted to bring up, which is equally as important, is what's happening with the rest of the river. And we just received correspondence from the EPA, which I'm gonna ask the town manager to share on the website. But again, you know, with the towns and the rest of the river, which is Great Barrington is part of, I feel it's very, very imperative that we stand behind, particularly the residents in Lee, and keep them informed that we are with them. You might know that we had approved the release of the executive session minutes of the rest of the river. So that's lodged in. But I do want to just highlight some of the points in this letter that was received tonight. And this will be put on the website. I'm gonna ask the town manager, but it's regarding the conditional approval letters for GE to resubmit the quality of life compliance plan that was dated December 20th, 2023, and GE's updated project operations plan dated January 25th, 2024. So they, the EPA is requesting or pushing that GE must resubmit both revised plans by November 22nd, 2024. So this is really important that GE is submitting both revised plans by November 22nd, 2024. And they will hold a public input period after GE resubmits the revised plan so that the public can provide EPA input on the revised plan. So again, just keeping you aware that this is moving through the system, and specifically as Great Barrington residents, we should get behind the rest of the river towns and especially Lee. So I'm not going to read you the whole letter, but it highlights some of the changes that they are requiring that GE follow. And, you know, anywhere from adding a stop work requirement when certain levels of airborne PCBs are detected,
No,
to evaluating additional mitigation measures for conditions that could cause quality of life issues, complaints, etc. So this is actually a very, very helpful document. And I do want to make aware that there will be an additional time for residents to submit comments, so.
thank you.
When can we submit those questions?
Okay, next is approval of minutes. June 24th and July 8th. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the minutes of June 24th, 2024.
So second, discussion. All in favor?
Right.
It's unanimous. Mark, town managers report.
I didn't do the job.
Ponta, you did both. Hold on one. They were both, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Mark, go right ahead.
Okay, thank you, Steve. Can you all hear me all right there? Steve?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure. First of all, I want to say, sorry, I'm not there tonight to be with you for this report, but I will be back in town later this evening. So Houstonic Waterworks, I just wanted to provide an update to all of you and the folks at home. I met with our engineers at DPC on Friday the 12th. It was a few days after our last select board meeting for another status update on our financial study. And I just want to say before I go on, for anyone
Excuse me, I can't hear him.
For
Everyone
anyone
else
hearing
can.
about this for the first time, this is the final step in gathering data before we can bring an acquisition proposal before voters for consideration at an upcoming town meeting. The study will provide us with cost estimates, and by that I mean debt service estimates, cost impacts on water customers, and if we operate it as an enterprise fund or a user supported system for the first 5 years. So need to know information, building off of our capital needs assessment study that we conducted a few years ago and our utility appraisal from about a year ago now. So the update for this evening is that we're behind schedule. The data that we needed from Houstonic Waterworks to keep this on track for a late June report, unfortunately was not provided despite our requests. The updated schedule with DPC gathering the info from as many publicly available sources as possible has them hosting a public information session in October with a final report to this board in late October. So the good news, if there's any good news in this, is that the cost of the study will not increase as a result of the additional time that DPC will need to gather this information. And as we get a little closer, we should talk about scheduling, of course, a standalone meeting, a public information session. DPC will host that and lead that for us, and we'll get the word out to Houstonic. So I'll add that to a future agenda so that we can compare calendars and schedule a date for that. And that's all I have.
Maybe, yeah, Mark, maybe we can schedule that next week at our priority planning.
Great. I'll add it to the agenda.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Licenses and permits. Application for a common victualler license, Cafe Holly, 200 Main Street. Someone here, just raise your hand. Either in representing Cafe Holly. I don't see him. What's the board's
What
pleasure?
was the question again?
You don't mind,
Yeah.
I like to see him here, we want to do some business.
First time around, I
Especially the
understand
first
that.
time around.
Okay, so we will skip over that one. So. An application for, no, we need you to be quiet, please. We're trying to conduct a meeting. No, no, we need you to be quiet. Thank you. The application for a common vic for boba train. Is someone here from that either in person? Great, come right up to the podium. Took your time to tell us about your business and people will hear about it. So just tell us a little bit about your business.
My name is Viviana Arteaga Tucker. I'm here representing Boba Train and 47 R in Grand Barrington. So Boba Train is a new concept, totally different. And I think Grand Barrington has it's a beautiful town, it has a big potential for this project, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of traffic. They also will support to develop other business, around, so.
That's correct. Do you have a motion?
I make a motion that this application be approved subject to the successful completion of inspections and permitting by the Board of Health.
Second?
Sorry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hi, I'm unmuted. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll unmute Oscar too. So an
Thank you.
application, one day all alcohol license, Hayway Performing Arts. This is a private event?
Yes, this is an event that's ticketed, private event, and the post event will be held at the yoga studio.
Perfect. Do I have a
Private
motion?
event.
Thank you.
I make a motion that we approve the application for a one-day all alcoholic license, the Mahawi Performing Arts Center post-gala reception at 47 Railroad Street, Suite 4 on Thursday, August 1st from 9:30 to 10:30 PM. This is subject to the approval is subject to the successful completion of inspections and permitting by the Board of Health.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I think it's citizens.
Public hearing,
So are there any citizens that wish to speak? Please step up to the podium. Please state your name and your address.
Hi, Andrew Barrington, 1079 Main Street, in East Tonic. There's two things that I'd like to ask the board and address. Number one, I know Steve already mentioned, the Board of Health has the ability to test, but that's not what they're telling us. They're telling us that they did make a request, they don't have the budget, and they need the select board to actually authorize that. I think the water needs to be tested now.
So let me, we don't go back and forth, but because it was in my statement, I'll just say two things. I know there was something online about $3,000 that was never requested of the select board or the town manager. And the other is, they can order it. And were you at the meeting with the State Board of Health when we had a meeting with, joint meeting of Board of Health Select Board? What they recommended was that, or suggested that the Board of Health could, and they may choose not to, but it's their choice, order independent testing and order Housatonic Waterworks to pay for it. And they said that happens all the time.
Okay,
So there's never been a request for money. There's nothing in our budget right now, but there has never been a request.
okay, because I think there's two reasons to test. Number one, it's to measure what's causing discoloration. 70% of houses now have it. There's only 2 specimens that were taken to the village in that engineering report that had elevated manganese. There were 3 that were discolored that did not have elevated manganese. So to assume that what they're proposing is gonna fix the problem, I think is a big assumption. It may work, but it may not work. So I think that the select board should be more proactive in what you're doing. The other reason is the HAA reports that usually come out. We're trending close to the upper limits of normal, trailing 4 quarters, and they're over a month behind when they usually report it. And so it would be nice for the residents to know who are being exposed potentially to HAAs, that they're not elevated. So I think that's 2 reasons that we should get testing immediately. And the other thing I'd like to bring up is I'd like to understand if the town council as well as select board did not file as an intervener. I know you made a public comment. I know the town council made a public comment, but I'd like to know why they didn't file as an intervener on time. And if that was indeed missed, I'd like to start the process considering a new town council opening up the bidding. I don't know how that is done, but I think that the town's not being represented, at least the village is not being adequately represented by the town council.
Thank you. Who else would like to speak, either online? Come right up.
So they say this is drinkable.
Wow.
I'd like for whoever said it to come have a sip. That's my truth to them. There are people that have it far worse than this, and it's all year round. I mean, I purchased my home so that I can rent it. I can't rent it. So that it affects me directly, it affects my income, and I'm not the only one. So I'd like to propose, if possible, that the town or the select board create a trust where we pay into the trust for the entity, which is Housatonic Waterworks Company. And you know, maybe a proposed to be discussed scheduling of what things take place, and as each portion of the project is completed, then they get a portion of the money. But right now, we're just funding their lifestyle because nothing's being done but having meetings. And, you know, there are people suffering. I'm one of them. So we appreciate a bit more diligence, and I think that keeping their money, if you mess with our money, we gotta mess with your money. And then we'll watch how fast things get done.
We'll get a recommendation on it.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Oak Street.
Maureen Quigley, 70 Oak Street. Just so when Mark was speaking, there was a lot of disruption.
Yeah.
Really did not get a chance to hear or grasp what he was saying. So is there any way there?
Yeah, Mark, can you just give a brief summary of what you said?
Sure. So in a nutshell, we're behind schedule on our financial report with from DPC Engineering. I anticipate a timeline of, at this point, of October for having not only a public information session, so it'd be a standalone meeting that this board would host with DPC, but then a final report to us in late October. And DPC is building, I did also mention that DPC is building off of the other reports that we conducted in the past. So when I say that, I mean the appraisal that we conducted and also the capital needs assessment.
Okay, so the appraisal has to do with buying, potentially buying.
It has to do with getting a full idea of what the infrastructure and the financial records are of the complex.
So
With
the goal,
goal.
oh,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go
I
ahead,
was just
Mark.
gonna- the goal here is to be able to present to voters a 5-year outlook on what it would cost to not only acquire the system, but operate it for the first 5 years. So without that information, we can't really ask voters to approve it because we don't have concrete numbers to do that. So that's our goal. Again, October is the goal for both the public information session and the final report.
Go ahead.
Has Housatonic Water Works ever agreed or has ever presented to the town a sale price that they would be willing to sell it for?
We're not there.
Okay, all right. And then you were talking about the G cleanup, and I know before there was a lot of conversation about doing it by rail. And I spoke with another gentleman, I can't recall his name, but he's been with it from the very beginning. And they, there's more ways to clean it up other than that way. So is that something, where's that in the mix? Cause I know, if I'm not mistaken, you were like rail is the only way, but it's not from what I gathered, so.
So this isn't on the agenda, so she won't be able to answer because of the open meeting law. Because
Okay,
the Department of Water Works is on the agenda, so I was able to stretch that. I don't wanna,
okay.
but we appreciate your questions. You can ask them and Lee can get back to you.
Okay.
But can I just say that the town of Lee on the website, if you look on their website, they have it all there.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Who else? Right up.
Peter Robertson, 1084 Main Street, Housatonic. I would ask that the select board think of the acquisition of Housatonic Waterworks as a priority rather than an alternative. I mean, there is federal money available recently, there, if you've been seeing in the news for these kind of projects, but obviously the municipality, the town has to own the waterworks. So I would suggest that, and again, ask that be the priority. And again, it's not an unusual thing. I think it's in New York. There was a town that just acquired their private water company for $14 million. Now, again, I'm not saying that is going to be our price, but just to add that it's possible and it's being done by towns, since it's not something that's highly unusual. But thank you.
Anyone else? Yeah, Michelle, go ahead.
Michelle Bear, 70 Division Street. I just want to remind people in the audience and on Zoom that the Board of Health is meeting tomorrow night. regarding Housatonic water. However, it's unfortunate that the Board of Health doesn't have in-person meetings. I think this is such a hot topic that's been going on for years. To have people in the audience and presenting dirty water, it doesn't have the same impact as on Zoom. And I think the Board of Health should at least show us the courtesy of having an in-person meeting. Also, patience is wearing thin in Housatonic, and there's a reason for that. This hasn't just occurred, it's been going on for years. And I brought this up before in 2016, there was a select board meeting. And a young mother from Mount View Avenue in Housatonic, I happened at that time to live on the corner of our street, Mount View Avenue. Came to the meeting saying she had to give her baby baths in dirty water. And at that time, I was very angry about it, because I live around Park Street and I was experiencing the same thing. So we're now 8 years later, and we're still in the same place, if not worse. I also want you to keep in mind, if this rate increase goes through, one of the things you have to do is run your water constantly. Cha-ching, 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 every time you do it. You flush your toilets. One time my toilet was so stained, from a brand new toilet, so stained, I had to flush it probably at least 8 times to clear it out. When that rate goes up, what are we supposed to do? So I think we're at the end of the line. Things are going to get intense, whether it's select board, Board of Health, Commonwealth of Mass, or federal government. And also, right now, we're hearing it's safe to drink. I remember there was a time where people could, moms with baby powder on their kids. Only later find out that those emails had uterine cancer or cervical cancer, one of my cancers. And that was it, but it was perfectly safe to do that back then, and now it wasn't. So how do we know we're not going to have kidney cancer, liver cancer, or worse? So this is, again, for me, this is the end of the line. Okay, and I think it's time for time to start plugging those also. Yeah. Thank you.
Highway.
Two things. Michelle suddenly began coming through with an echo, so that it was very difficult to understand. That's in case future speakers encounter that. Also, the Board of Health is a hybrid meeting tomorrow night.
It's hybrid, so they are in person.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Highway.
Oh, at Town Hall and by Zoom. Bye.
Thank you. Anyone else? You already spoke about, you know, only give you one.
Oh.
We have rules. No, not you. I have to keep to the rules. or else
You're all
I get-
coming through as an echo. You have sound problems again.
We're almost done.
Yeah.
I see no one else talking, so select board time. I was looking over there.
Yeah, no, totally new configuration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to thank everyone for coming in tonight and voicing your stories on this. Like I said, I'm living through it as well. To kind of reiterate something that Michelle just said, like, yeah, absolutely. There's no way that we know this is actually safe. We need stricter, better regulations on discoloration. We are currently being told this is okay, and I think we all know personally it's not. You need the state and the federal government to get on board and say it's also not okay. And I'd also like just to follow up and saying, the issue is this idea of, you know, personally, my discoloration, not that bad. I live about 4 houses down from Eric, and I know we talked that he has had much worse discoloration odor. This idea that this filtration system will just fix everything is, I personally have trouble believing. I'm not a scientist, but it doesn't track. One of the things that I'm pushing for in my communications with people at the state level is the idea that if they do go through this rate increase research, really hopefully they don't, and asking that they don't. But if they do not implement these phases, where there's at least 2 years worth of data to prove that it actually works, we should not be paying for something that doesn't work. I think that's simple. We should not pay any money any more money in our monthly bills to Tonic Water Works until we are sure that we're actually getting clean, usable water.
Kind of reiterate a little bit of that, I think I like to see government be involved. Also, agree that one for kind of not members way, you know, bring your card, your papers in the paper first and then get it after. They need to do their due diligence and then we'll give them money that they possibly earned to deserve. Other than that, I don't want to pay based on something ahead of time before I even know if it's gonna work or things like that. That's a pretty lousy idea. I also hope that that's just the judges and I hope we cooperation memorandum as far as the transportation goes where we're out where it may not always, but it's a start. Everyone know that rail will use it.
Yeah, it's just, thanking everybody for coming out, sharing the story, frustrations with you. Yeah, nothing worse than coming home after a day's work. Take a dirty shower, so completely understood, and you know, sometimes beating at that word, I can't emphasize enough of pounding state, federal, things with the letters, calls, DVP. You know, but just try to keep communication loud and angry, it's easy, so.
Ben, give me a favor, Mark, just to turn that all on, see if they act, because they're having trouble. Units that are. Yeah, this took care of the whole system.
Sorry. Opposite.
If you just pull the plug up, I think it's that second owl that's creating the echo and.
Mark, can you hear us at all now?
Yeah.
Mark, can you hear us?
No.
Yeah, now you're clear. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Yes, you're clear now. Thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
A couple things. I wanna thank Garfield for really getting the Tri-Town connector behind the Brookside Bridge. He was, really, really diligent about following that up. So I praise you and thank you. It's nice. Also, an e-bike was donated by a member of the community. And they're now going to be patrols by the police department on the e-bike, and one of their routes will be the Brookside Bridge. So that's great. I think there's 3 officers that are trained on e-bikes. So you'll probably see, if you do go down to the Brookside Bridge, you might have a chance to see an officer on an e-bike. The other thing that I wanted to comment on was Peter's comment about acquisition. And, this report by DPC is so important. And, although it is delayed, there's a reason why that delay has happened. And we are asking for important data from Housatonic Waterworks that is not forthcoming. So we're having to do a lot of extra work. So, it's nothing that we haven't done that's causing this delay. So as soon as we get the financial report and the appraisal, we're going to bring it to the voters. And then there's going to be a very, very important decision the voters are going to have to make about a possible acquisition. So, yes, there is possibilities of the state stepping in and helping with an acquisition, but the voters ultimately need to make that decision whether we want to pay for this. So, October is going to be a very, very important point in our timeline as a town. If we're going to step up and support our residents in Housatonic, but just know that we are, again, we're following this parallel track of trying not to have the rates go up while paying for, inadequate toxic water. So, we're doing 2 things at the same time. We're waiting for this feasibility study and this appraisal and this financial report, and we're fighting with the DPU to say, listen to us, how dare you make our residents pay more for dirty water? So we are with you 100%, and we will keep fighting.
Thank you, Larry. Deb Herman, did I miss you during Citizen Speak? A lot's going on tonight.
Yes, I did get confused. I hope I'm on now. Deborah Herman, 373 North Plain. I just wanted you to comment on the news reports from Eileen Mooney's newsletter, and now also repeated in the Berkshire Edge, that Housatonic Waterworks has gotten a $350,000 grant from the state, for disadvantaged communities. I'm wondering what they are gonna do with that water, that money, excuse me, and if it's gonna affect the rate case. Thank you.
Yeah, the answer to that, which I'm sure you're not surprised, is that we read Eileen's comments this afternoon and have not had a chance to digest it and get results, but we are working on it as with.
The only last thing I'll say is thank God for Eileen, and everybody should get her newsletter.
I've always said that. Okay, anybody for media time? And by unanimous consent, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.